What is up, adventurers, and welcome to another ShawnSetGO video. For those of you who have been wondering why my content has slowed down a little bit, couple of stressful things, from back when I was taking my vacation. As many of you probably use an Airbnb. I have been going through a series of Airbnb and support for somebody who is trying to actively scam me. Basically, they are claiming that I broke their shower column, and then I had to prove with series of photos showing that the photo that they took showing that I broke their shower column, one, was impossible because they didn't provide us towels, and two, because I did take photos before I left the Airbnb and it is well intact. And so this person is trying to actively scam me and charge me for the full cost of this thing. It's been a whole mess of a series of things. I do warn people, especially after this incident, when we're doing Airbnbs, be careful, take pictures, make sure you keep track of things that you say to them, make sure that you take photos before and after, etc. But that's why my content's kind of slowed. It's been kind of this unfortunate thing. It's been hard to do content and also think about that. So really at most, the most WoW I've played recently is just doing like old world content for mounts and transmog, and that's really it. But we at least have some content today to share with you, which is it was from another video, a Bellular video. I do tend to watch Bellular videos on occasion. But basically, they had a comment on their page from a supposed Blizzard developer. And so in this video, they talk about how the Blizzard developer talks about how basically it's all our faults. It's everything, or the issues that we've experienced is our faults, as it is titled. So in the post, I'm just going to read it here. It says, "Look, I've been with Blizzard for a decade and I'm not going to dox myself. I'll tell you this straight. The biggest problem isn't us. It's the fans. I've seen every variation of content delivery tried, content over time over quality, quality over content. And no matter what we do, the fan base explodes in outrage." I would say there was a similar sentiment really on Twitch, whenever any content was released. It's been a rough go of it for them, especially when some people, it seems like certain content is judged unfairly. But for them, I feel like this is kind of a miss right out the gate, where it says, basically, the problem isn't us, it's the fans. Like, blaming the fans for the content that's released. Basically saying how we deliver a content is people's main gripe. Now, there's been different forms of content tried, I will say, but I don't think quality over content or time over quality. It's been like a main thing used. Maybe it's a certain methodology. It's like, all right, we're gonna release content this every so often, but it seems like the forefront of this person's argument is basically how it's delivered to us is our main issues. It says, you want more content, we crank it out. You scream it's rushed garbage. You want quality, we take our time. Now it's suddenly Blizzard is twiddling their thumbs, and God forbid we pull off some miracle where we manage to ship complex top-tier content on a short timeline, then outcry shifts to, this game is too complicated, Blizzard hates casuals. And this might be in reference to the most recent BRD raid that was released. A lot of people are mentioning now that basically BRD is dead. Nobody's really doing it. People stopped doing it, and there's less and less people doing it. People are gearing alts, trying to get that a little bit, and the content is easier, but people just aren't interested. So it kind of feels like the main form of content that you would kind of do repetitively, besides just your daily quests and your daily mob kills, is not really utilized by people. So I would say the top tier content was released in a sort of befuddled type of way, and it was released bugged. And the outcry of you like hating casuals is, well, you're making content that casuals can't do. But also giving gear that only casuals would want. Because the gear is just it. If you've done any mythics, then you're probably not needing any of that content. Or if you've done any raiding, you probably don't need that content or you need that gear. So the other thing is the Blizzard twiddling their thumbs. I think refining content is good. I think when you release content that's messy, that people end up not wanting to do, it can feel like there's not as much content as there is available. Like I said, right now, I don't really have an interest in doing any sort of cutting edge content. And right now, it just feels like I'm back into the farming mode where I just kind of do content that I feel like it doesn't really matter, like gear score wise. I don't really need to have the top tier stuff. Like there's no point to heavily pushing this stuff because I can kind of clear all the content I want to clear if I want to clear it, but it's just the interest isn't there. Like there's not really given, and exhausted. It's exhausting with a live service game. So here's the hard truth: the fan base has no clue what it wants, and even worse, when they complain, they don't offer actual solutions. All we ever hear is do it better, but better how? No one can say that's why we stopped taking fan input as gospel. Oh wait, that's why we've stopped taking fan input as gospel, because half the time the feedback directly contradicts itself. I will agree with this to a certain degree in that a lot of times what people want actively contradicts itself. And for example, you know, I think that while a lot of people are upset about the mounts being $90, there's a group of people who are just like, get over it. You don't have to use it. You don't have to do it. You don't have to buy it. So I think even within the small like microcosms of the sections of people, like things that the people do in the game, even something as small as like as a mounts gain, people contradict themselves because people have different stances on what they think is important, as well as what kind of lines they're willing to draw across. So I think it's understandable to a degree, but at the same time, I think if you're not actively listening to your fan base, it's going to actively affect your game negatively when you're releasing content that nobody asked for, that nobody wants. And I disagree. I disagree that people aren't providing solutions. Anytime I write a video, I'm not going to say this is representative of my community entirely, but there are people who are out there who go, I think this would be a good solution. And I would say like a few times out of 10, I'm like, this is actually decent. And it doesn't seem like Blizzard really reaches out to the community asking them what they want anymore. Or the content that they release, they go, okay, do you like it? It's like, no. Okay, well, we're going to release it anyways. Or is this content doable? No, it's not doable. Okay, we'll adjust it a little bit. Well, it's doable now, but the stuff that you want from it isn't really desirable. Well, we can't change it now. You know, it's too late now. You guys were too confused about it. It's like, why is it put on the fans to do that? Like if you're really so upset that the fans are providing something and the content you're releasing isn't enjoyed by fans, then I mean, honestly, who else do you have to blame but yourself? And let me clear up just something up about the mounts in the store. You guys are why we have to sell those. If expectations is for WoW to pump out top tier content every 8 weeks, you need to realize that how much that costs. We've got to set budgets. Thank Microsoft. And it's not like we can just ask for money to keep up with every demand. Everything, staff, offices, servers, tech maintenance, marketing comes out of the same pot. This is the argument that people have brought up about the whole mounts and the mount situation, basically saying that the reason why the mounts are so expensive, or this mount was so expensive, was that it's either this or we pay a higher monthly like a monthly service, like a monthly charge for playing WoW. I think that's total BS. I think that it's excusing mentality where it's like, oh, this is the reason why. It's like, well, you would have more players playing this game, more active players playing this game if the content wasn't so poorly released, if the content was actual quality, if time was spent releasing quality content that we actually want instead of old content that was never released or cut patches that were released. I understand the mentality of most people is that cut content that's released later on is a good thing, but in my honest opinion, it seems like a lazy budget friendly thing. It's like we can't release content for the current patch and stuff like that because it would take too much development effort. It's like, well, why are we putting more effort towards these things to release quality content, to make sure that the content is worth playing, not just for the initial people who buy the expansion, but for people later down the road. I think everyone at some point was introduced to playing WoW through somebody's word of mouth or somebody else's content, and like, I want to do that too. It doesn't really seem like we get that nowadays. It just seems like at most we get like the pop and fizzle that we type of content, like a gotcha content. It's like, here's the interesting content, you play it for the week, you leave the game, which is fine. It's a fine mentality to go through, but it's not really interesting content that's going to be building or breaking records of any sort. So When corporate says increase the content cadence and it follows up with, oh, by the way, it better be flawless, guess what happens? We're left scrambling and to find ways to make it work. And yeah, that means taking some patches will suffer, especially as we push through Q1 through Q4. I think, once again, I will give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, because I do understand that it is hard to match content cadence. And not every patch that's going to be released is going to be like the highest quality. Like it's understandable, but at the same time, that content cadence that is created, it's like I'd much rather have a smaller piece of content that's released in quality than some big piece like this whole Siren Isle bit. Like instead of doing the whole Siren Isle bit, why don't you give me a quality piece of content that's given in small doses, so people have time to adjust to these things instead of big content things that give you legendaries. That's going to be your main focus for gear grabbing. That's going to change how everyone starts their gearing for like any of their mains or alts, and it's going to be the main focus for like a month or so, and then all of a sudden it's going to be like everybody from that point on. If you're not there, you're not going to get in groups. You're not going to be able to push that content because everyone's already done it. You know, it's just like with the BRD content. It's like if you're trying to do it for the first time now, like you're likely not going to be getting it, or you're likely going to be grouping with people who are just doing it on their alts, or it's so rare. Like if you look up the raiding content, people are still running Neurobar Palace just as much. But BRD is like you get like one or two. Like it's really not that many that are up in like the raid grouping content. So it's to me it's like the content cadence is defined by you. You are defining the content, and I hate to say it, but yeah, I think a lot of people, what they demand is not bugged content and not content that has issues and bugs and makes the content unenjoyable. Bugs and issues with content makes the content that would be enjoyable to a fan non enjoyable. So if like someone goes into, like, for example, every time I queue in the 20th anniversary event area and it ports me back, I port under the platform and I can't get out. That's literally happened to me every single time that it's happened. And even if I'm like just close to it, I'll get ported right back under it and I get stuck. And it just happens. Like, why is that happening? Why are things like this happening? Like, you know, why isn't this figured out? You know, things as basic as, you know, you have people who love transmog who haven't been able to get a hat that properly does hair. Like why are these things released so poorly? So it says, you can't just create resources out of thin air. Something has to give. That's why the store mounts exist, to help fund the impossible demands for both fast and polished content. You want constant content updates and high quality, cool, but the money's got to come from somewhere. And this is like the one thing that makes me feel like this person isn't an actual dev, because I feel like if it were so simple to be like content equals we gotta raise the monthly cost of the game, that's wild to me. That's absolutely wild to me. I think that you have a monthly fee that you're paying actively towards this game, and with each expansion you're paying for that expansion on top of that. If that's not funding say like one content area, then what is it funding? What are we funding? Like, what are we funding actively every single day? So it's like, so what kind of content patches have you received that makes you go like, okay, they had to start from scratch and make this, because the BRD content isn't that, and the 20th anniversary content is like one small area within the game. So what has our spending, our monthly costs, are buying this expansion paid for up to this point? Give me monetary, like the monetary values of that. Maybe you could, like, I don't think you could just be like, oh yeah, it's servers and server maintenance, and that's exactly what it is. Nothing else. I feel like that's super vague. So the last bit of it says this isn't magic, it's game development, and every decision, whether you like it or not, is made to balance those realities. Listen, I'm not here to say that there are things that game developers have to go through that the fans don't understand. I get that there's often content that, I mean, for lack of a better phrase, I think it's the, like, you think you do, but you don't type of content. It's like there has been content that has either been cut or content that's been released that was in opposition to fans' desires, and it turned out well, you know. But a lot of times, when this content doesn't do well, you can't blame the fans when they don't enjoy it, because if they told you they didn't want it, they didn't enjoy it, or it wasn't released well, or if by the time it's fixed, nobody cares anymore. So it's like by the time it's done, and this has happened multiple times. It's happened with Titan Forging. It's been a lot. So I guess my main thing for this, you know, person, this developer, is that I think that, just like Bellular says in the video, because they talk about this and in response to this, I think that a person like this doesn't need to be on a development team. I don't think that this mentality is going to put out good content to its fans. And even if its intentions are to release content for, that's good, because I think this is sort of a defeatist, it's sort of nihilistic view, very extreme view of basically it's everyone's fault but me. And I think that it doesn't provide a lot of grace or understanding to the fans, because it's like if you had a bad customer service experience, or if you've had a bad game experience, and you're all of a sudden jaded, then everything is jaded to you. Everything is like, well, I just can't do anything right. Well, I think that a lot of times, I think that if you're going to say it's all Microsoft's fault, it's all the fans' fault, it's not us, it's everybody else, then I don't think that really looks yourself in the mirror and really is honest to like yourself, and like really honest to, you could put your foot down. You could release content that's quality and provides what people are looking for if you're actually looking to serve somebody. And so I think this jaded mentality, and this is what I've seen from fans and now devs as well, it doesn't do anyone a good service. It doesn't provide anybody service that is actually worthwhile. So yeah, may this person hopefully not work within Blizzard for much longer. I think this is kind of a very unfortunate mentality to have, and when you're trying to serve thousands of people who play your game. So if you're working at the complaints department, definitely you need to switch jobs. So but that's all I got for this one, guys. I mean, like, what do you think about this video? I mean, my honest thoughts are, whenever you're coming to development, I think you've got to understand that game development is, even though your customers aren't right in front of your face, it is a customer facing job. You are serving a customer. And the phrase goes, the customer is always right in terms of taste. So I mean, if people don't like it, then unfortunately they're right. I think that I think that you got to figure out, okay, where do we go wrong? And if you can't figure that out, then maybe that job's not for you. Maybe serving a live service game is not for you. And this is the problem, I think, with live service games, is that live service games require a constant fresh eyes, but also to be on the cutting edge of what people want and what people don't even know that they want. And if you're not there, and if you're falling behind and you're like, we can't keep up, then they need a different team working on your game. So that's just my honest opinion with it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Of course, give the video a like if you like it, subscribe to the page, and once I figure out this issue with Airbnb, I'll be making more regular content once again. But I appreciate you guys for bearing with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.